What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Boozor here. Thanks for stopping by. Hopefully, you guys having a great day so far. In today's video, we are going to be talking about the upcoming events that will be running alongside this summon rush. Now, the summon rush might be the last chance for some of you guys to pick up some extra fragments. If you guys are short, there's going to be a total of 75 fragments in this summon rush. If you guys have gotten the fragments from every single event up until this point, the minimum event fragments anyways, then you still have to pick up the first threshold of fragments from the summon rush to still be able to get the lion. Keep in mind that you can only skip a total of 100 fragments in this entire fusion. There's 500 available and we need 400. So yeah, keep that all in mind. Expected price probably about 6 sacred shards for the first threshold. Now, like I said, there is going to be a progressive event running alongside of it. So for those who are pulling, you got a little bit of extra juice here. So let's go over some of the champions here. So first up, we have a Sidax, the King Killer. Sidax from the Dark Elves here. I did do a showcase on this champion, so if you guys are interested or if you guys pulled him recently, make sure you guys check out that showcase. Overall, I think he's a very solid champion, very, very good. Especially early game or even in the late game. He hits pretty hard here. He's got an AoE double hitter with a decreased defense and a decreased speed, and this ability goes off of max HP. This is a very, very strong ability. Can be used in a lot of different areas, mainly for PvE, but very, very good. His A1 also very decent. A 100% chance of landing decreased attack on a single target makes him very, very good for single target boss encounters. And he also lands a pain link. This will reflect back basically a little bit of damage that he receives from the attacker. And then he has a 3-turn cooldown, increased defense, increased speed, and ally protection on his A3. Very, very solid ability, especially for things like clan boss. His passive damage is decreased on this champion by 10% for each ally under ally protection. So, 40-50% roughly. This champion is immune to pain link debuffs as well as any damage from reflect damage, buffs, or passive reflect damage effects. So this basically sums up, like the ram form, for example. Reflect damage can really wreck you there. He is going to be defense based also. So really nice support champion, as well as he can dish out some nice debuffs with some nice max HP damage. So moving on, we have Kabaran the Underflame from the brand new Argonites. Kabaran here, I did playtest him in a group of Argonites, and I gotta say, I was a little bit impressed with this guy. His kit doesn't read great, but I was a little bit impressed. He does play pretty decent in both PvE and PvP, I think. He has an A1 double hit with a decreased defense. He has a chance to attack with his A1 whenever an HP burn debuff activates, which is pretty okay. You can synergize with this a little bit, I guess. He's got an A2 here on a 3-turn cooldown. Single target hit is a double hit. Places the Death Brand on the target. Death Brand is basically like a block revive. Will ignore unkillable and shields as well as 25% of the target's defense. So you got built-in ignore defense, built-in ignore unkillable, and shields with the Death Brand application. So potentially block revive. Activate this champion's Prene Power skill if the target is killed. If the target survives, fills this champion's turn meter by 50% instead. That's pretty big turn meter fill. Or you go into a big A3. Which is a 3-turn cooldown AoE, also places increased accuracy on all allies. He also places HP burn on all enemies and then fills the turn meter by 20% for each HP burn placed on enemies, and fills the champion's turn meter by 10% for each HP burn resisted. So either way you slice it, he's going to get a big turn meter boost here, or he's going to get a turn meter boost here. As an AoE HP burner, it's pretty nice. And then, of course, that's going to synergize with his A1. He also places increased accuracy, which helps give him a bit of accuracy relief for his Death Brand, which is really important. But I think for the most part, you want to build him out with as much damage as possible and have accuracy as a secondary stat that you want to add a little bit to. Also, his passive is very interesting. It's an active effect. It activates a delay effect on this champion whenever they receive a fatal hit. So delay effect basically means that you don't die, but you will die next turn. Or basically you will take the damage again at the next turn. But you can actually survive by out healing that incoming damage on the next turn. It's on a 4-turn cooldown, and the passive effect here, which synergizes well with this, is that he heals by 20% of their max HP whenever an HP burn debuff is activated on an enemy. Whenever the HP burn debuff on an enemy expires or is removed, place a true fear on them also. So a little bit of crowd control, a little bit of healing, a little bit of cheat deathing, a little bit of PvEing, a little bit of PvPing. I think he does a lot. He does a lot. And like I said, I was decently impressed with this champion when I was play testing him a little bit. Next champion on the non-void list, we have Packmaster Shayak. Obviously, Shayak and Crocad connection. He is the second part of that. Shayak here, I mean, he was a fusion a long time ago, before Crowcat was in the game, actually. Speed in all battles. He's got this 3-turn turn meter fill with an AoE block buff. This could be useful for Hydra, for example. And then he's got single target, which is himself, full cleanse and heal. Also plays a shield on himself, and then taunt and reflect damage. It's supposed to synergize well with the dog so that he gets hit, so the dog's counterattack, etc., etc. It's on a 3-turn cooldown. It would have been nice for him to have a full team cleanse instead of just a self cleanse. And then his A1 is a decreased defense, which again synergizes with the dogs. His passive, when attacked, he places Hex, which has a little bit of benefit, but I wouldn't say it's a huge, important part of his kit. And then lastly, the biggest thing about him is that whenever he is attacked, any and all of his dogs will attack. So when he's paired up with Crocad, Crocad's going to be doing obscene amounts of damage with him. So yeah. I don't think he's that great by himself. Some people will argue that he's decent because he has this AoE block buff, Termir boost, but the rest of his kit's kind of like blah. The Hex is seldom going to be enough as a single Hex champion, so you still need another Hex champion because this passive Hex is not strong enough or consistent enough to land like on Hydra, for example. I just don't think he does enough. But with Crowcat, he's definitely worth getting and bringing into teams. So after that, we have from the Lizardman, we have Roxam. Roxam, very strong champion. I actually use him in my Lizardman faction wars. Very cool, very strong champion. He has an A1 turn meter fill with the perfect veil, which is important because he needs the perfect veil to synergize with the rest of his kit. His jungle ambush on a 3-turn cooldown. He has a turn meter fill on a single target hit. He places stun if he's under veil. He places sleep if he's not under veil. He will place veil on himself after attacking without veil. And then he will ignore shield, strengthen, and unkillable. Okay, great. And then his A3 on a 3-turn cooldown. If he's under veil, he will be an AoE attack with decreased defense and weaken. And then it will decrease the A2 by 2 turns and ignore block, debuff, shield, and strengthen. A nice solid ability if he's under veil. If he's not under veil, it's going to be a single target hit, decrease defense, and weaken. And then it will place veil on himself. So he loses the AoE ability, he loses the cooldown reduction, he loses the ignore, block, debuff, shield, and strengthen if he's not under veil. So what you want to do is basically use A1 or A2 to get himself under veil, and then you come in with the A3 for the big smack. He does get, I believe, ignore defense. Yes, he does get ignore defense here. Pretty much unconditional based on the target's max HP. If the enemies is higher than Roxam's, then he's going to get ignore defense. If it's way more than his max HP, then he's going to get way more ignore defense. He starts off with the perfect veil, and whenever they receive a perfect veil, he's going to get increased attack, block, debuffs, and a continuous heal. So his passive, very, very strong. His kit overall synergizes with himself pretty well. He has 2 ways to place veil. He has ignore defense. He has plus attack. So he can hit pretty hard. I like him. And lastly, for the non-void champions, we have from the Dark Elves, Noldula. Noldula, one of the fusions from earlier this year. She is the partner to a Solinar, but rarely used together because Solinar is just good by himself. A1 Enfeeble, really strong. A1 Enfeeble is really strong. And then a Weaken. Weaken obviously good against bosses. And then he's got an A2 here on a 3-turn cooldown. It's going to be a full enemy strip with the decreased defense. A little bit underwhelming, to be honest, for a legendary, but you know, she's supposed to be paired with Solinar for some additional benefits here. If Solinar is on the same team, it also becomes an increased attack for your whole team, which is pretty nice. But I think just at its base, it's a little bit underwhelming. And then she does come in with the team-wide revive here. And then she places shield on everybody. Again, a very standard kind of average 4-turn team revive from a legendary. Passive here, turn meter effects used by enemies are 30% less effective. Now, this could be a big deal, especially if teams are very finely speed tuned in an arena or something like that. Then this would, might create a bit enough of a gap for people to sneak in on. Accuracy in all battles, decent base stats overall. She's an okay reviver. She's an okay package, but I wouldn't say she's like S tier. And for Dark Elves, they have Mavara as well as a reviver, premium reviver support. So she falls behind quite a bit in that regards. Now, let's move on to the Void Champions, and this is probably one of the bigger talking points here. This is the first event for Alzilda the Wicked, and she's going to be from the Dark Elves. Alzilda is the boss in the event dungeon for the Echoes of Oz for the next couple months. Very solid base stats here. We didn't get a chance to do a showcase video on her because the test servers are offline at this moment. So hopefully I'll get one up, in the coming weeks when they bring it back. But on first look, I'm not overly impressed in terms of just visualizing the gameplay on her. I find it probably a bit difficult. So we'll have to test her out in like practical settings just to see how well she is. Obviously, reading the kit is different than actually playing the champion. So on first read, her A1 is amazing. It's an AoE attack with the block active skills. Block active is really, really crippling. If you're only basically using your A1 at that point, it's a 60% chance to land, up to 100% chance if you're under fear. And she is all about the fears, all right? So her A2, 3-turn cooldown, it's a full enemy strip, it's a touchless ability. It's going to be a turn meter steal if they're under fear. If that is not the case, then you just don't get that. And then on top of that, she has a 100% chance of landing decreased defense and ensnare on all enemies for 2 turns. So it's a 3-turn enemy strip, decreased defense, and ensnare. That's the base. And if they're under fear, then she's going to be stealing 30% of turn meter. Now, ensnare is, I don't think ensnare is that great. Ensnare basically just shuts down turn meter effects. Like it's not like, real crowd control. And then this turn meter steal, relies on, first of all, the fear. Second of all, it relies on them not having total guard, not having, stone skin. And then obviously there's an accuracy check on top of that. You much rather have like turn meter boost because you can just boost your own team. And then you much rather have a proper crowd control, like maybe she lands fear. Like what if she landed fear, right? Decreased defense and fear. And then for every champion that got feared, she would steal their turn meter too. Like that kind of makes sense. And that would be a pretty powerful 3-turn cooldown, A2. But I don't think this is that powerful. But her big ability here is going to be her A3. This is the talk of the town. Is very special. 4-turn cooldown is an AoE attack. Places Master Seal on one champion for 2 turns. Master Seal is going to shut down blessings, gear sets, masteries. I think it's going to shut down a bunch of the stuff that powers up your champion. And then it also has a 30% chance of placing sheep on all other enemies for 1 turn. Places block passives for 2 turns instead if the 30% chance does not activate sheep. So it's effectively at its worst an AoE attack with the Master Seal on 1 and then a block passives on all. Now, in the worst case scenario, that is not very good, right? For example, Ramantu has an AoE strip with the block passives and it's a hit, I think on the 3 turn, which is better than this on a 4 turn. So you really need to get value from the sheep for this ability to be really, really good. Now sheep, can be stopped by wand. Wand can, redirect sheep. Sheep's not going to be able to go through like total guard stacks, and you're still fighting the 30% chance, right? You can book this up to 35% chance with masteries. The fearsome presence can help, but it's, in my opinion, a very inconsistent skill, and you might be sheeping the wrong champion. Maybe you need to sheep one particular champion and you're not landing it properly and it fails. So it's pretty rough, right? The passive, also one of the best parts of her entire kit. She's immune to sheep and a bunch of this bunch of these debuffs that she lands. So basically, she has some kind of built-in immunity to like the wand, for example. And then she has this part of her passive, which is amazing. Whenever an enemy receives a buff, which happens all the time, 50% chance of placing true fear on the enemy will ignore block debuffs. And because she's lying all these fears all the time, she will be protected from her own fears coming back to her via wand with her passive, which is really nice. And this can be very crippling, right? The problem is True Fear, it does not guarantee that that champion is stopped. It's only a 50% chance that that champion is stopped. So it's not like hard CC, right? It is good. It is still CC, but it's not, guaranteed CC like a stun. And then lastly, enemies and this champion and their allies will deal 20% more damage against enemies under Fear and True Fear. So it's good that she can land her own fears. She synergizes off of her fears here and here. So that's really good. But I think at her base, her unconditional effects are not very good. Like her A2 is not good enough, in my opinion. And then her A3 is very inconsistent and not good enough in the worst case scenario. Her A1 is amazing, though. And AoE block actives is amazing. And then lastly, she comes in with the accuracy and all bows. She has good base stats overall, but I just don't think her kit is that particularly strong, especially with Total Guard in the meta for Arena. This is strictly like a arena champion, right? Unless, I mean, you could bring her in for wave content, but you're just going to slow things down a lot, especially with the sheeps and stuff. But if you're running into a hard wave, then she can probably help you out. You might get lucky with the sheeps, and then it might bring you ahead. But we'll have to play test her to give our final verdict. So, but she is going to be the talk of the town right now for this event. Up next for the Orc faction, we do have Galut, Son of the Pact. He has a pretty cool passive here that allows him to basically full cleanse and shield up everybody with the fortified buff whenever this champion's team receives 10 debuffs. That's really nice. I mean, that's going to happen eventually, and then you just get, a big buff, big shield buff, big fortify, and then big cleanse and a heal. It's pretty nice. He does have a 3-turn AoE crowd control with decreased defense. It's pretty good. And then A1 block buffs and a decreased duration of all buffs on the target for one turn. Not too bad. He's a Void Legendary champion. Obviously, you expect somebody better, I guess, but he is a very strong support champion, especially for the orcs. And then lastly, we have from the Dwarves faction, we have Acrizia. Acrizia here, she's the queen of max HP. Max HP, max HP, max HP on her entire kit. Now she has double hitters, double hit AoE on her A2 and double hit single target on the A3. The big thing with her is that she can deal a lot of damage over time, but she does not deal as much damage in a single instance as somebody like Newt. Newt hits 3 times, right, for max HP damage, and she can only hit twice. So unfortunately, she doesn't fit the role of like bursting down bosses as quickly as Newt, and she doesn't deal as much overall damage as somebody like Marius for long, prolonged fights. For example, against Hydra. So as a Hydra long-term damage dealer, Acrizia versus Marius, I think Marius still outshines Acrizia, and Marius is a free champion. So she's in an interesting spot where she's not the best at really anything, but she's still really good, right? Honestly, she used to be the queen of everything, but she's kind of fallen off a little bit in my opinion. Definitely wouldn't go out of my way to really chase this champion at this point. So anyways, that's going to be it for this progressive list of champions. Of course, this is going to be a big event for the Alzilda the Wicked. She's going to be part of the Echoes of Oz campaign champions, and then she's going to be part of the package, the gift package if you collect them all, right? So if you get her, then, that's one piece of the puzzle. But keep in mind that even though it's a 15x progressive event, the odds of pulling these champions are still very, very small. The rates will not be boosted, so you won't get any boosted rates, for any of these champions. And if you pull a champions, even on a 15x, you're looking at about a 5% chance. Actually, no, you're looking at about a 7% chance to get one of the non void champions, and then for the void champions you're looking at about a 15% chance. So if you really want Alzilda, if you pull a void legendary with 0.5% chance, then you can get roughly about 15% chance at getting Alzilda. But otherwise, a pretty underwhelming progressive event. Obviously, they're trying to leverage the Alzilda hype in this progressive event, but it's also a fusion. So more people than usual will probably be participating just for the fusion alone, regardless of what the progressive event will be. But yeah, this is the list of champions you guys have to work with. Most of you guys will probably be pulling sacreds anyways, just to get the fragments and then ducking out. If that was the case, I would probably focus on maybe Kabaran would be nice to have, and then of course Sidax would be pretty nice to have if you guys are pulling sacred shards. And of course void shards, I would shoot for Alzilda. Yeah. Anyways, guys, that's going to be it for this video. Hopefully it was informative and helpful for you guys. Let me know what you guys are planning to do. Best of luck if you guys are pulling, and I'll see you guys in the next video.